Marc McDowell is a very intelligent young man. As you know, he's the president right now of the Professional Bowlers Association. And guess what he was doing before he practiced today, Jay? He was sitting in the press room reading a book on positive thinking.
Well, it's not a bad idea, but now he will have to perform against one of the best, Mr. Ozio. McDowell, 0-2 from the top-seeded position, has a PBA record in '86. His rookie earnings, #1 all-time, better than 51,000. Little high and a split right off the bat for McDowell.
Well, if you're going to get one, and those things happen, now's the time to do it, early in the match. We'll get another look at that. Now, Marc McDowell, as you can see, the ball right from his hand went through the middle of the headpin. He has a timing step, and we'll show you that a little bit later in his approach, where he has a little skip in there. And what it does is it gets his feet in time. Oh, made a try at it.
Wonderful try.
Gets his feet in position so that he can be balanced at the foul line. And if he gets a little fast, he gets out of time, and then he'll make that kind of mistake. And right now, he's a little nervous. As you can see, his bio.
Came out of great college program at West Texas State, Canyon, Texas, although he is from Wisconsin. 15th career championship round appearance for him. He cracked the $100,000 mark in yearly earnings for the first time if he can win this one today. And he's having some trouble. Talk about that approach of his. He's got a little hitch in his give-along.
That's a good way to describe it, Jay. And here's a look at his footwork. Watch between the third and fourth step. You see the even pace, the first two. Here's the third step. Now watch him kind of hitch it in there. See that little skip right there? And then get back into position at the foul line. And that's what you call a timing step. He feels where the ball is in his swing. He hurries his footwork, catch up with the ball, and gets set at the line.
You're just joining us in the first 3 matches this afternoon. We've had 49 strikes out of 70 shots. That's 70% strikes. Ozio's high game this week, 279 in round 6. Low game, of course, 162. Careful. Round 5, and he's a little high. And a 6-10 lead for Ozio.
And you can see that David is very disappointed in that shot himself for making that kind of shot. Not often he makes mistakes high. If he makes mistakes, he usually is a little light in the pocket. In other words, light on the head pin. Cross lane, both things with the ball. Good ball speed, throw it straight.
Through the first 3 matches, an average of 246.6 this afternoon.
So much on the line here, as I've mentioned, for David Ozio.
Ozio up by 11 pins early against Marc McDowell. McDowell, 29 years old, 2 titles. His 6th championship round appearance. He lost to Tony Westlake in his home state of Wisconsin in the Pba Tour Classic in Green Bay. Solid 10.
He has kind of a unique style. I've mentioned his footwork. He has a very compact game. He's built low to the ground, and he uses that to an advantage. You can see the straight back swing is straight back and through, close to the ankle. But see how compact his swing is as opposed to a Brian Goebel who has the long arms and can really extend down the lane. The shorter you are, the shorter your arms are, the more difficult it is to be consistent with accuracy, but at the same time you can create more leverage. As say, for example, a great player like Wayne Webb can do at 5'4". McDowell must use his leg strength to get the ball speed he needs, so it's so important that his timing be perfect, and that little skip he has in his approach is what gets him in position to make good shots. And if he's off a little bit, but as I mentioned, if he's a little fast with his feet, then he'll bowl poorly. But if his timing is good, he's hard to beat.
Coming up next, remember a special Olympic showcase, the Duke Blue Devils and the USSR national team, basketball.
McDowell has to get something going early here. He doesn't want to let... You give David Ozio any room, and it's goodbye. You'll never see him again. As he talked about, it's a horse race. Well, you let David up front. He's a great front runner. You'll never catch him. The washout, very difficult spare. He has to make the ball cross over the head pin here. He wants to get the ball to cover the 1, the 2, and the 8, and have the head pin slide into the 10.
Patty McDowell watching her man Brian in action. Struggling right now. Oh, that is his second open.
The grinding pressure of bowling for a championship on the PBA Tour can make or break a player's career by how he handles that psychologically. And Marc McDowell has been the top seed in his last 3 television appearances, and he has lost the previous 2. And he's in danger of doing that a 3rd time, and that can really hurt your psyche when you're out there. Hard to get your confidence back. David Ozio, on the other hand, is a very competent player, and as we've mentioned, a great match game player.
Last week at the Brunswick Memorial World Open, he lost the opening match to Del Ballard. Both of them back here in the top 5 this week. And Ozio rolling along.
Taking advantage of those mistakes, which all great players do. Ozio on 3 in a row, and this seems to be dead set in the pocket.
And he's out to a 48-pin lead.
Here's another look at that last shot. Look at the tremendous balance and follow-through he has. It's hard to make mistakes with that kind of a solid game. McDowell, 5th frame. It's almost now or never. And he responded.
That is his first strike in the match, and boy, did he need it.
Even at this point, if he were to go all the way to the wall through the 10th frame, he can only bowl 232. David Ozio, I have a feeling he's going to do much better than that. We'll see.
Top-seeded Roger Bowker, last year winning this tournament, knocked off Dave Husted to win the title. This year, Roger finished 93rd here.
Look out.
Boy, he's really been fighting it on 33.
And he was completely out of time there. He just, there's something in his mind that isn't right. His confidence isn't good. He was out of time at the foul line, and of course, when you're out of time, you're off balance, and that's what happens. You see here, he's not balanced when he releases the ball. He kind of falls off to the side, and that means he's ahead of the ball. He has to pull the ball through to catch up, and when that happens, it always goes left.
And he picks up the 6, 9, 10.
David Ozio, on the other hand, supremely confident, cannot afford to make a mistake and let him back in the match. Has to stay aggressive. That's pretty aggressive, I'd say.
Ozio up by 58 pins over Marc McDowell. Everything's going right for David.
As I've mentioned before, that's that tremendous pin action you get out of that hard-hitting urethane ball and the angle it's coming in at, and of course the rotation that David Ozio puts on that ball. And as so often happens, when the match seems to be out of the wood, you relax, you make better shots. That's the best shot he's made today, right there, Marc McDowell, and I would expect him to throw more good shots now that the pressure is kind of off him, Jay.
He's terribly disappointed. You know, you get on a Schneider like this, he was 0 for 2 from the top. That was preying on him, and he said, you know, I paid my dues. I think I'm ready to win, but Ozio is really in the driver's seat here. I mean, take disaster. Yeah.
Well, the most McDowell can do right now at this point, and that was his 8th frame, is spare in the 8th, possible 192 if he were to strike out. David Ozio going at a 230 actually 240 pace.
This match is over.
This match is over. Ozio only needing to show up and keep the ball in the lane, basically.
And Earl, after those remarkable matches,
it's almost anticlimactic.
yeah,
isn't
it really is, but not
still,
for David Ozio,
not
because
for David Ozio.
He takes a giant step toward Bowler of the Year with this win. He goes over the $200,000 mark, and it's a big, big day for Ozio.
Well, this is the biggest day in his career, Jay. You know, there's no question about that. As you mentioned, he becomes a 10-time champion, which is very important as far as qualifying for the Firestone Tournament champions over the years. He becomes, in my opinion, if there were a vote now, obvious Bowler of the Year. As you mentioned again, the 200,000 mark is a key stepping stone that most players would feel is a wonderful, wonderful year. David Ozio never lets up. He continues to work hard at his game day after day. He's always out practicing. No one works on the fundamentals of the game more than David Ozio. No one practices to learn all the various releases, angles, and be able to perform them under pressure more than
Ozio's the winner. And he will pick up $27,000, and Earl, he'll go over the $213,000 mark.
With 2 tournaments yet to be counted in the money winnings are, of course, the Touring Players Championship next week in Detroit and Taylor, Michigan, and then the Cambridge, which follows that only a few weeks later.
And this doesn't include the money for this year, but that is the money list, and does not include the money from this event, but it was coming into this event. Weber, of course, today picking up $6,500. Ozio will get the top prize of $27,000, and Marc McDowell, he will pick up $14,000. Another split for him. He just was out of sync from the get-go.
He was. I guess reading a book on positive thinking is a good idea, Jay, for anyone in any endeavor, but it just wasn't what Marc McDowell needed today. He needed to go out there and be aggressive, and he was very tentative from the opening shot. And when you're bowling against David Ozio, as we've mentioned so many times, and you can't express it often enough how talented Dave is and what a great match game player he is, you can't afford a mistake.
After watching all of those games over the 240 mark, it's 160 total for Marc McDowell.
And that will probably bring a smile from David Ozio at this point, because it doesn't make any difference. It's all over.
Let's see if it does. I don't know. This crowd is applauding, and have they been treated to some marvelous action here this afternoon.
Over the years, we've seen some tremendous performances, and there's that little smile. He knows it's over, but over the years, we've seen some tremendous performances, Jay, but it's hard to match up against the top 5, what they did today. Unfortunately for Marc McDowell, he wanted to win maybe too much, applied too much pressure to himself and couldn't perform. And, of course, David Ozio is part of that pressure that he creates when you go against him in match play.
David Ozio. They're standing and applauding the champion, a score of 235, as he easily defeats Marc McDowell for this top